Hello. Recently, I was lucky enough to interview the popular YouTuber Max Fosh. I asked him a number of interesting questions about how he moved from school into YouTube. I also asked him a number of questions suggested by you guys. So, I hope you enjoy this interview. Without further ado, Max Fosh.
Sometimes the tables turn. The interviewer becomes the interviewee, and we're better to be interviewed than on Oscar radio. I'm Max Fosh, and welcome to Oscar.
First question then is, let's start from the beginning, as it's a very good place to start.
Mm.
For university, do you have any plans for the future? Any idea of what you wanted to do?
Before university?
Yeah, so
No, not at all. I had no idea what I was doing. In my gap year, I did all sorts. I worked for a long time at Woucher, the company in their admin department. I worked there for 3 months. And I really had no idea. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know whether I wanted to be in office. I didn't know whether I wanted to go into the city. But I definitely didn't want to do what I was. Well, I didn't know that I wanted to do what I was doing now. So I had absolutely no idea before I went to university. No.
Yeah. So then, when you were at university, you started on a radio station. Am I right in thinking that's correct?
Correct. Yeah. I started doing student radio. A friend of mine asked me to come and help her out with a show that she was doing for student radio. Now, I didn't even know that student radio existed, and I walked into the studio and I put the headphones on, and I was absolutely terrified, completely just didn't really know what was going to happen. I was so nervous. I was shaking. Did my first link, had a bit of an introduction, and then I asked Hannah, my friend, said, Hannah, do you know how many people are listening? And I was expecting to go campus wide, and she was like, yeah, we've got 3 active listeners at the moment. And I knew that one of those people was my mother. So at that point, I slightly relaxed a little bit and got into it. But that was my first taste of radio, was when I was invited by my friend to do a show on Newcastle Student Radio, NSR.
And then obviously you went on to win awards and things eventually. I'm guessing that's when you gained a bit of momentum.
It's actually not. It's not at all. I looked up obviously who my kind of radio icons were. I looked at Terry Wogan's, Greg James of this world, and saw what do they do, what were they doing, and I realized, okay, they did student radio, then hospital radio, and then they kind of got their breaks into mainstream radio. And so I kind of did that. I did hospital radio and realized that I needed to win this award called the best newcomer at the Hospital Broadcast Association. And I put all of my time and effort into curating and honing the best entry I could. And I entered that and I won. And I was kind of then expecting, okay, great, here we go. Here come the floodgates. But it didn't happen. It didn't happen at all. I had a demo with Heart Northeast and a demo with BBC Radio Newcastle, and I didn't get it. I didn't get it at all. I just didn't hear back from them, full stop. And so that's very much where kind of my radio career came to a bit of a stuttering end. And when and just at the same time, I thought, well, I probably need to cover my back here. So I just started Street Smart as a way to just learn some more skills.
Yeah. So you were at one stage seriously thinking, right, I'm really enjoying radio. This is what I want to go and do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So then, for Street Smart, obviously, I thought it was a really good concept to kind of get into YouTube, because you've obviously got some really funny reactions to your questions that you ask. But what I thought is, even from the very beginning, the very first video, or the first video that's still on your channel today, I'm not sure whether you've taken the early ones down, but you look kind of very professional in setup with your proper microphone already and a proper camera. So was that kind of planned a bit more than the radio, would you say?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'd spent obviously 3 years doing radio, learning how to present and learning how to ask questions and learning how to kind of get good reactions out of people. But that first night, that first video that I ever made, Welcome to Uni, was made September 2017. And I'd kind of set myself a goal of, okay, Freshers Week is 5 nights in the next week. I'm going to go out and I'm going to set myself a target of making a video every single night and posting it the next day for 5 days. So I go out, I film, go to bed, wake up, edit all day. I post, I film, I wake up, I edit. Yeah. And so I did that for 5 days. And I didn't really have, I borrowed some gear from the radio station. I mean, I borrowed a mic pack and a microphone. And then I just honestly used one of my mate's cameras, one of my mate's kind of cameras. And a lot of that first video is shot on an iPhone because the camera died. We only had one battery and we were spending so much time fanning around with kind of trying to interview people that didn't want to be interviewed that we ran out of batteries. So we used an iPhone. A lot of that first video is an iPhone. And I was just kind of learning on the job. And the first edit that I did after the first video, the next day I just opened up an editing software. I didn't know what I was doing, just YouTube tutorial my way through for 12, 13 hours, posted the video, and before I knew it, it was time to go out filming again. So it was definitely not professional. It was off the cuff. I was kind of writing questions the day before and just went and tried it.
Yeah. So then when your radio career came to an end, were you really thinking, this has kind of opened up my eyes, I don't want to go and do a normal job? So that's when you decided to have a go at YouTube. And
it wasn't, I didn't start doing YouTube full time until about 7 months after I graduated. So I worked in a bar for a long time after I graduated, but I knew that I had something in just street smart. But at the time I was posting all on Facebook. I wasn't posting on YouTube because on Facebook you have something called relationship engagement. So it was all based around people in Newcastle. So if I interviewed someone, their mate would see it the next day on Facebook and tag them, which means that more people would see it, which would kind of made it a snowball effect. Yeah. And that was what was so good about Street Smart, is that it was very taggable and shareable, because I was in a place that people recognized, and they could go, oh my God, that's outside so-and-so, or oh my God, look, it's so-and-so who's being interviewed. So initially, all of my videos for the first probably year and a half were all going on Facebook, because YouTube, there wasn't that way to grow and to differentiate yourself at all. I did put them on YouTube, but they were getting 50 views. So they weren't really going anywhere. And so Facebook was really a place that I started to place all the videos. And it wasn't so much that the radio came to an end and YouTube began. Even when I was graduating from uni, I was still looking for radio jobs. I applied for a lot of county radio stations to be on their shows, and I was perfectly willing to travel and going to live in I don't know, somewhere like Bournemouth that's quite a big city, but somewhere in the country, and doing counties radio just to kind of get sharpen my skills. But then it wasn't until kind of February 2019 where it all kicked off, and I had one video that kind of changed it all. Yes.
So should we talk a bit more about that video then?
Sure. It was I had so it was a video I did with two YouTubers called Zach and Jay, who I'd met about 6 months previously, because Zach had walked past me in the streets, and I'd been a big fan of Zach and his videos. And anyway, I'd walked past Zach in the street about 6 months before we did the video, and I'd said to him, I messaged him on Instagram and say, hi Zach, I make videos as well. If you ever need anyone to help you film anything, please let me know. I'll always help out. And I was just trying to be of value to him in any way that I could. And I got lucky, and the next day he messaged me saying, actually, we need somebody to help out ASAP. Can you come to the O2 Arena in 45 minutes? And so I kind of looked at my watch. It was a bit of a kind of those movie moments. I looked at my watch, scrambled out of bed, called in sick from work, and then spent the day filming for them. And we then had lunch afterwards, and we got chatting, we became quite friendly, and then we just were mates for a few months. And then they came to me with this idea and saying, Max, we want to make you the most famous model at London Fashion Week. And we had no other plan. We honestly had no other plan other than that. And it was the day before Fashion Week ended, so we had 2 days to do this. We sat in my flat and we brainstormed what we could do for about 4 or 5 hours. We went to Primark, just bought some silly stuff and just chanced it, and luckily it worked. And then Zach produced one of the kind of a brilliant edit. The edit there that he did there was phenomenal, really kind of taking people on a story, and it just kind of just blew up.
Yeah, so would you say that that was the main starting point for you?
It was, but it also wasn't everything. So it was the thing that suddenly got new eyeballs on the videos, definitely. I think I grew something like 50,000 subscribers overnight. Which was an absolutely amazing feeling. But the thing is that I always say to people is that I had a backlog of 50 videos on the channel there for people to watch, because a lot of the time when that happens, people will subscribe, but they'll have nothing to watch. And then the excitement will then down, and 2 months later, you'll kind of be going back to being, you'll be starting from the bottom again, because nobody will have remembered who you were. And even though you've got that subscriber base, people will be unsubscribing all the time. So I was lucky, well, not lucky, I'd worked hard to get to the point where I had those videos there on the channel for people to really sink their teeth into. And I got lots of lovely messages afterwards saying, oh, I've actually just binged all of your content now, I really enjoy it. So that was nice to know for me to think, okay, this is not just a one-trick pony. I think this is something, the start of something that I can really build on.
Yeah, since that video, you've managed to kind of keep that momentum going. You're, I can't remember what it is, 176,000 subscribers now or something. So you've kind of ascended into the world of YouTube. And so have you had any interactions with any bigger YouTubers?
I would definitely say that there is probably an assumption that all YouTubers know each other, which is definitely not the case. We're all aware of each other. But I wouldn't say that I wouldn't call, actually, well, I would call quite a few, a lot of my friends are YouTubers, but just because people are YouTubers doesn't mean that I necessarily know them. There are people who I definitely call friends within the YouTube community. I mean, people like Zach and Jay, Kieran Carlin, Bambino Becky, Elbat. These are all people who I would, and VYB, these are all people who I would definitely consider to be friends of mine. But I've had one opportunity to meet a lot of bigger YouTubers, British YouTubers. The Sidemen did a video where they did Dragon's Den, and they invited Bambino Becky, and she asked me to come along as someone to help her out. And so we were in this filming location, and it was honestly kind of, for me, it was incredibly exciting because I was by far the smallest YouTuber there. And I was kind of surrounded by people who I'd been watching for years. I mean, Stephen Tries, Nicole Milana, all the Sidemen, Calix, Cal Freezy, these guys who I've kind of watched their content for a long, long time. So that was, I mean, for me, that was very exciting. But I definitely don't think that that all YouTubers necessarily know each other very well. But they do look out for each other a lot when making videos.
Yeah. Have you had any issues trying to come up into YouTube, being from a public school and going to a good university?
No, I haven't. I'm quite vocal about this, because a lot of people ask me this question and say, oh, but does the fact that you are from a certain background make people not want to watch or turn people off? I've just realized that whatever you're doing, whatever content you're making, bring value. If you are entertaining people in some way, it does not matter at all where you're from or who you are. Yeah. All people care about is you are entertaining them and you bring value. And so I have tried very hard to make sure that all of my videos in some way entertain an audience, whether that's through education or through comedy. And yeah, you get the odd response and the odd quip from people. But I mean, that's fine. It's something that it's just got to live with. But I try also very hard not to make it my adjective, make it the thing that describes me. I think a lot of the community, the posh community, would probably make it something that how would you describe yourself? Oh, they're just posh. So trying to make myself as multifaceted, and of course I'm not gonna hide my upbringing, but I'm also not gonna shove it down people's throats. Yeah. and make it something that is the only thing that people can talk to me about.
Yeah, I'd say that really comes across in your videos, actually. So
Yeah, I mean, but I've already come from an incredibly privileged background to be able to go to university and to hone my skills whilst at university. I will say that I'm proud of how hard I've worked to get to the place I am, but I also won't discredit the opportunities I've had being able to get a mic pack from a hospital radio station.
Yeah, exactly.
Which isn't difficult to get, but I do definitely recognise the position that I have been. But it's got to be a combination of both. You've also got to work hard to make sure that you're creating something that people want to watch.
Yeah, brilliant. Originally, when you were doing lots of street smarts and going to different universities and things, were you just kind of like invited to parties and you turned up ready to interview people?
No. It took a lot. I do still get that. I go to parties a lot, and people say, "Oh, you should just film this."
Yeah.
And it's nice because it shows that people would like the content or engaging with the content. But making one of the videos is a lot more than meets the eye of just picking up a camera, turning on a microphone, and going for it. There's a lot of time writing. There's a lot of jokes that sometimes I would like to get put in there. So it's not as easy as just kind of turning on a camera and going. And I've also got to think what the audience wants. What is the audience kind of looking for at the moment? What's going to do well on YouTube as well? That always has to come into consideration.
Yeah, right. Fred wants to know, what has been your favourite place to interview?
My favourite place to interview, Fred. Okay. I really enjoyed. I have a series now as well, not only Street Smart but Unconventional, where I go to weird and wonderful conventions around the UK. And those days, they're normally days filming, are lots of fun. I would say the Conquer World Championships was up there as one of the great days. I mean, it was absolutely pouring with rain, and my camera ended up breaking, because it just got so waterlogged. But that was a great day. I competed in the UK wife carrying championships. I don't have a wife, but that was a great day. But probably going metal detecting, the metal detector video was one of the best days, because it was the first time I'd done an unconventional video, and I didn't really know what the angle of the story was going to be, but I knew I wanted to make sure that people didn't feel humiliated. So rocking up and just having such a great and being introduced to such lovely people was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, brilliant. So Rufus wants to know, what uni has the best nightlife?
I'm just going to be very biased here and just say Newcastle. Newcastle definitely does. It's sometimes quite tricky to find people to interview on nights out, and that can often be a bit of a pain, but definitely Newcastle has been the easiest of all the places. I go there, I turn my camera on, and there's always people to interview. So I definitely say Newcastle.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So Izzy wants to know, can you shed any light on Sarah?
Sarah. Yes, so the search for Sarah continues. We've got as far as speaking to Getty. We've got as far as speaking to a number of people who were involved with the shoot. I know the shoot now took place in 1998. But because of correctly, lots of kind of legal practices that are involved to protect the models from this very thing that's happening, I've asked them to forward on a letter to either the photographer or the model, just to outline what I'm doing, and I'm waiting to hear back. So I've got as far kind of as I probably can do before it getting invasive into people's lives. And that's the last thing I want to do. So I'm just kind of waiting to hear back, but that might take a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Okay. What is the best paper for crosswords? Very important question.
So the question is, this is a difficult question, because there's not the best paper or what the ones I use, because crosswords in general are quite tricky for people who don't do crosswords. Crosswords are very difficult. So I'm often quite sneaky, and I will print off crosswords from online that are easy crosswords. Because it doesn't make a very good video if for 90% of the video people are umming and ahhing and can't get 90% of the clues. So I will also Google some of the answers if I'm a little bit stuck, or there's one that people can't get, and help them along to give the answer. So it's not really an activity in actually doing the crossword. It's merely a vehicle to be able to sit people down and just have chats with them and speak to them about their lives.
Yeah, you always seem like you know all the answers.
I do normally know all the answers, yeah.
A bit suspicious. Okay, very important question, close to my heart. What is your view on shuffles?
They are a great joke, and that's all I'm going to say for them on that. They're a great joke. It's something that always gets a laugh, so I enjoy making that joke.
Yeah. Okay. I went back into your videos and I found 2 videos where you ask Cambridge University students.
Yeah.
Some of the hardest questions in life, I think you said. So I'm going to ask you some of those. I'd like you to, where possible, give a yes or no answer.
Okay.
If you can't, just in a sentence or something. So, modern art, yes or no?
Yes.
What are dreams?
Dreams are a subconscious manifestation. That's it. Dreams are a subconscious manifestation.
Are you afraid of death?
Yes.
What's the best thing about life?
Friends.
Oh. How do you know when you're happy?
You don't. You never know.
Okay. Is humanity heading in the right direction?
Yes.
When is it okay to lie?
When you're protecting somebody.
If you could live forever, would you?
No.
What is the meaning of life?
Pass.
And what, Max Fosh, do you contribute to society?
Hopefully some entertainment and humour.
And lastly, and most important, is a Jaffa cake or a biscuit?
It is, I assume it's a cake because it's one of the other cakes go stale and biscuits go soggy.
Oh, okay.
And so I think it's a cake in that description.
Scientific reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
Right. So I assume in your position now, it's quite hard to plan for the future. But do you have any plans? And I assume you have more ideas for more videos. But...
Of course, yeah. I've very much come to the realization that YouTube is not a career. I don't think YouTube is something that you can look at for over a 30, 40 year lifespan. I mean, the platform's only been around for 10 years, so it'd be silly to think that you could stay on there for your whole career. However, it is a brilliant job, and for now, it's something that I'm enjoying doing, but I'm constantly learning more skills as I go, and that's, I think, the most important thing that I've learned in all the years I've been doing presenting or just entertaining, is that you've always got to be bringing value to somebody in some way. So I now know how to edit, I now know how to produce, I now know how to make a narrative story in a video, things I didn't know previously. But I was also doing a lot of stand-up before lockdown ended, and I was going to take a show up to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, which was going to be kind of a mixture of myself, my personality, but also a lot of the videos as well. That was going to be its own show. And so that's what I'm kind of looking at. So I'm looking at long-term comedy, presenting, and just something that can be a lot more long-term. I mean, look at YouTubers now. I mean, someone like KSI is a great example. He's constantly reinventing himself. He's constantly changing what he's doing to make sure that he stays relevant.
Yeah. From your position now, it's almost, you don't necessarily have all the journalism or whatever qualifications you need. But actually having this experience on your YouTube channel means that you might now be a more valuable person to become a radio presenter or whatever in the future. Yeah.
I would say there's a YouTuber, a mate of mine called Konstantin, who he's a filmmaker. He does a lot of kind of film-based videos, and he recently did a video where he made an advert for Doritos. He said in the beginning of his video, he said, make the content that you want to be making. And so I think it's a really, really good point. It's a really good point. So if you want to go into commentating, just start commentating. Find clips, find old matches from rugby matches. turn the sound off and just do your own commentating. Although nobody's going to hear it or nobody might see it, if you want, you can send it to people. But it just shows that you've got that skill, and it can be something that you can slip into an interview, or you can slip into a conversation with somebody who might be able to help you out down the road by saying, oh, actually during quarantine, I commentated all the 3 Lions tests, or I commentated the knockout matches of the World Cup, all 80 minutes of it. Because you will learn something then, and you will also impress people with you kind of taking the initiative, and it's making the content that you want to be doing.
Yeah. So I suppose you've already answered this, really. I've written down who did you get help from, but I suppose you were just kind of branching out. You bumped into Zach. I suppose you bumped into other people who are already established in the YouTube world and just tried to create your own opportunities.
I did my 100,000 subscriber special, for example, and I knew I wanted to get some YouTubers involved, and I paid for us to go duck herding. Yeah. And I just honestly just messaged creators on the platform who just kind of who I admired, who I liked their content, and I just reached out to them and said, do you want to come and do this? And for them it seemed like a no-brainer. I was like, do I want to go duck herding for free? That sounds like great fun. Of course, let's get involved. Yeah. But to give some advice to you, hopefully that this has shown that almost everybody is accessible. If you can, they might not reply, and they probably won't reply, but it shows that they will at least read what you've got to say. Yeah. And so by providing some sort of value to them, is always going to be beneficial.
Yeah. So overall then, how different would you say your life is from a normal 25-year-old?
Vastly different. Yesterday, my work consisted of driving around London and taking pictures of myself that were plastered on billboards everywhere, and that was my job. Yeah. So, and last year I went around the world. I was paid by a brand to go around the world in 10 days, only using my mobile to pay for everything. Those are all kind of incredibly crazy adventures that I had that were all part of my job. So I would definitely say it was remarkably different from a standard 25-year-old.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I enjoyed interviewing him. I thought he was really interesting and actually had some quite good advice for later life. Keep your ears open, because I should be getting some more people on to interview at later dates. And I just hope that you all have a good summer holidays. Thank you very much. Goodbye.